Hello and thank you for joining us for Evolve TV, where we uncover the secrets of how aftermarket workshops can improve, optimise and systemise their business. I'm your host, Mark Aston, and in this episode we discuss how our customer expectations are constantly evolving and how we as mechanics can better love our customers. While many mechanics are diligently investing time and money into vehicle service and safety equipment, staff and training, they need to be mindful that the constant shift in customer expectations are more of a concern than the vehicle coming in our doors. To share this with us, we're joined by our very special guest, Kev Almond, who is the B2B Operations Manager over at Repco.
As part of the leading Evolve workshop program by Mechanic.com.au, Evolve TV helps aftermarket workshops discover how to become more connected with the marketplace, their customers, their staff, as well as other leading aftermarket workshops. Learn how to leverage digital platforms and tools as well as best business practices in order to run a more efficient and innovative automotive service and repair business. This is Evolve TV.
Welcome to the show, Kev.
Thank you, Mark.
Good to have you along. Tell me about your role at Repco.
So at Repco, I work with the digital team, which means we're looking at software solutions for workshops. Predominantly, I work with our internal team and our stores. Being the voice of our customer, they feed up a lot of feedback and obviously a lot of needs. And we use that feedback to help construct and design what we work on next from a software solutions point of view.
You've been at Repco for 10 years. What sort of changes have you seen?
Over the 10 years, a lot has changed. The vehicles themselves, obviously, and the workshop technology for sure, but customer expectation as well. So customers now have a much more personalised thirst, and they're looking to workshops to help fill that need.
When it comes to a motorist's day-to-day life or their lives, how has their expectations changed?
It's kind of snuck up on us. So as technology's grown and changed over the years, I mean, take Facebook and Google, right? We use Google every single day. We used to have encyclopedias in the library at home, right? No longer, I haven't seen an encyclopedia in decades, but we check Google and that's where we go for our answers. Yeah. It was only 2008, I think the iPhone came to market, and that's 16 years since then. In 2008, the VE had only just come to market, and that had a single airbag. I think it might have had a passenger, but no ADAS, no driver assist really, very little infotainment to speak of. Customers are now driving motor vehicles that are full of tech. The infotainment systems, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, things of that nature have made customers almost expect their motor vehicle to be part of that tech connectivity which they're used to having in their pocket. As far as the motorists themselves and then workshops they go to, that has really changed. So we need to make sure that as workshops and as part suppliers, we're in step with that customer.
As an extension to that question I asked, in terms of tech, are you confident that most customers understand the tech, or is there an expectation from your point of view that you need to really educate them?
There's a real need for education. So the end user, the motorist, they've absolutely had the awareness through the vehicle they're in. The workshops themselves, they're getting awareness now because their customers are asking them and they're seeing the trends. And we can absolutely take our customers by the hand and guide them through this. And I think that's our role as part of the digital team.
And it's obviously important that the mechanics understand the tech, but just as importantly, they need to understand how to communicate that to their customers.
Oh, absolutely. Communicating the value and humanising that value is art. And that's something that all of us need to get better at.
You make some great points. Give me an example.
Absolutely. So let's look at a couple other things that we do, ways that we shop. You know, if I'm going to book a holiday now, I don't pop down the travel agent and sit down and think it through. And I typically jump online and do my own research. If I'm buying a pizza, we used to actually drive down to the shop and pick it up. For a while there, we were picking up the phone and then we were even ordering it, you know, and it just turns up. This level of expectation of delivery and urgency and speed and tech connectivity is where customers are at. And being able to provide customers that solution is really, really important to make sure that our industry is in step with where they're at.
An example from my point of view, often when I'm getting my car serviced or even picking my car up, it's during hours where I'm working. It's not convenient for me. Is this changing?
Absolutely. And convenience is a big deal, right? Being able to drop your car off and pick it up, something we've struggled with for many, many years. But one of the things that we're seeing now with the advent of online bookings is that a third of all those bookings that are occurring through systems like ours are happening between the 5 to 9, not the 9 to 5. So customers are at home doing the research and booking in their vehicles when they're comfortable on the couch because the wife has just prompted them. It's easy to get it done in that moment, but the following day when we've all got work to do, it might get forgotten.
Don't you love it when the wife prompts you?
I really do.
Customer expectation, obviously this is really, really important. And customer expectation, I'm talking about obviously about their vehicle. How's that changed over the years?
Over the years, the OE has made magnificent strides around safety in particular, but also the tolerances and the fine engineering that goes into a motor vehicle, right? When you take a motor vehicle on the road and you run it the 10,000 Ks and the light comes on that says you need a service, that's usually the first prompt to let you know you need a service. So the customer is now in a position where they're like, I need to spend some money. That might be an uncomfortable moment because they might not have an awful lot of it floating about. So it's a considered purchase almost, but they've got a light that's adding urgency. The ability to be able to understand that that's where the customer's at is really powerful.
I may be wrong here, but many years ago when I would get my vehicle serviced, I would get into the vehicle and it would feel different. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure I can put my finger on what it was. I mean, quite often they'd spray it with a nice spray. So obviously from that point of view, that was obvious and they'd vacuum it. But I'm just talking about maybe just in a general sense. Is that still happening?
It is, absolutely. And mechanics in the workshops in Australia are doing a fantastic job of looking after and loving their customers. But one of the things, the small things that we all forget because we're in the motor trade, is that customers jump into their vehicle and because they're so finely tuned, because they're so well built these days, it feels much the same as it did the day before. The only difference is they notice the bill missing from their bank account. Back in the day, we used to change the points and the rotor and the dizzy would be freshened up and you jump in and it'd start, it'd sing, it'd sound better, it'd smell better, it'd run better. You think you've got a brand new car. Now you jump in, it feels much the same. So helping the customer understand the value that you've put in with your expertise as a mechanical workshop is really, really important.
It's key, isn't it? And that's part of good communication.
Absolutely.
Mechanic to customer.
100%. Being able to not only understand it to the nth degree, as most of our workshops will, but being able to actually explain that to a customer, that's where the art is.
Is there something off the top of your head that you could communicate to someone who's about to get back into their car that you guys or a mechanic has spent time on that you can signal to them that they will notice immediately?
The most important thing for me when it comes to my vehicles getting serviced is the safety aspect. I'm putting my family in that motor vehicle and I need to know they're going to be okay. So explaining the things that we've done that make that vehicle safer and then helping the customer understand why that's important, that's stuff you can't buy. That peace of mind is priceless.
That's a really good point, and I think you've just touched on it, and I think we need to explore it even more, and that is it's okay to explain to the customer technically what you've done, but when you mentioned that point about the family being safe, that's humanising it.
Absolutely.
And that, from my point of view, is very comforting. Do you agree?
Absolutely. It's all well and good to spend the money, but you need to know why you're spending the money. And just getting rid of the light on the dash is just not enough.
You mentioned the little red light in the car, and I have to say, and I'm embarrassed to say this, Kev, but my little red light over the years has been on probably more times than it's been off. But anyway, that's my issue. That's not your issue. What about the future of the red light? Where's it heading?
Yeah, the little red light. Well, as we were saying a moment ago, the vehicle now is much better built, much better tuned, and it knows what it's doing. It's got computers and sensors everywhere. So communicating that to the motorist is something it's very, very good at. It's not just one light that says something might be, it can communicate precisely the problem. But it can also help the motorist to be able to create and book and maintain their vehicle and learn more about their car as well. And that's really powerful. That's one way the car's talking directly to the customer.
What's one of the biggest challenges for customers when it comes to maintaining their vehicles?
I think the biggest challenge is just understanding what's being done. Providing a feeling of value is way more important than actually slapping parts on the car. Helping a customer know what you've done, that's where we actually make it human, and that's where we personalize it. Being able to have that conversation confidently and have them leaving knowing that they've invested in themselves and their safety and their motor vehicle, that's super important. But also thinking it through and taking some of the bumps out of the road for how a customer engages with us and works with us and spends money with our workshop is super important.
What about when a mechanic is communicating, and we spoke about communication earlier, how important it is the mechanic, the customer, understand that. That's obvious. As part of that communication, is it also educating the customer about the maintenance of their car?
Yeah, I don't need my mechanic to tell me the tightening torques, but I certainly want to know the type of product, the quality of the product, why that matters, and the time and care they've taken. We used to really bang on about how many point safety checks we used to do. Many workshops have forgotten that little skill, but giving the customer the knowledge that, hey, someone who's trained has touched X amount of points on my car and double checked that everything's just so before it left the hoist, that's stuff that's worth paying for.
And it's becoming more and more obvious to me now that it's not just about having a mechanic who knows what they're doing technically with the car and knowing how to handle a wrench or some equipment, whatever it might be. Communication is unbelievably important, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, it's something that we don't pick up in trade school, but being able to, let's say salesperson, but being able to communicate, absolutely. I have a saying, as mechanics, we know how to spin spanners, not spreadsheets. But we also need to be able to spin customers' opinions and make sure they feel like they're getting their value. And being a salesperson is absolutely part of that.
I took my car into a mechanic a couple of years ago, and the mechanic was joking around. I think he was trying to relax me, maybe trying to relax himself. I didn't feel comfortable with that. Do you relate to that?
Look, it's the what gets done is really important. The how it gets done is what a tradesperson's skilled and ready and there to do. But communicating back to the motorist why that's happening, or why you should bring it in sooner, Mark, before your red light stays on for a week, and what that's going to do to the vehicle if you don't. That's what actually gets customers sticky. That's what gets them connected. Being able to explain the why.
You make a good point. I think the other thing that needs to be spoken about here is that motorists are time poor.
Absolutely, and you should forgive yourself. We're all time poor, right? That red light staying on a week longer, you won't be the only bloke on the road who's doing that. But as mechanical workshops, being able to solve that for a client, or be able to create a method by which I can make it happen when I've got free time on my time, that's really, really valuable to me as a customer. And I need that from my mechanic. And if someone can provide me that, I'm going to keep coming back.
What are some of the solutions and approaches we can take?
Well, with that sort of stuff, connecting with customers, workshop management software kind of does a really good job, and there's loads of them in the market. I personally don't have one as part of Repco, but there's loads out there that you can go and look at. They will prompt you and they will help you and they will guide you as a mechanic who's probably got very little to no marketing training on how to time and schedule and reach out to customers and almost preempt their needs. That predictive marketing is really, really powerful, and it's really becoming more and more common in the marketplace these days. Imagine if your mechanic pinged you an email or a text message about 3-4 months after the last time your red light came on, Mark, to say, hey, your red light's about to come on again, come back and see me. That'd be really important, I'd imagine, to you. I know what it is to me when my mechanic gives me a call.
It's a great point. There's a balance though, isn't there? Because a lot of people may feel that they don't want to be bothered by their mechanic every week, every month.
That's right.
And so there is a balance.
Absolutely. You've got to make it meaningful. So you've got to understand your customer. And that's what's really key. Understanding your customer and what they want and need from you is how you're actually going to connect.
And you could do that, I'm presuming you're talking about doing that via text, but I'm just wondering, and it's just a thought, would or are some doing it via video, via short video?
It could be. It could be anything. It could be a birthday card It just needs to be something meaningful to the customer.
What other things can you do for customers?
I think bill shock's another one that's really easy to overcome. It takes you as a mechanic with your trained eye 30 seconds to build that next service quote and let your customer know, hey, next time you pop in, it's a pretty big one, so you might need to put some pennies aside, or even other side of it, next time you come in, it's a cheapie. I'll see you next time. And it really just lets the customer drive away knowing that I'm being looked after, not only today, not only because I've paid my bill, but next time I pop in to my mechanic, I'm going to be looked after again.
And it's all part of relationship building too, isn't it?
Absolutely. And not everybody is going to get shocked by a bill. Some people are just going to tap their phone and carry on about their day. But buy now, pay later is becoming really, really popular. And that tells us that customers are finding it tough. So being able to give them a bit of heads up on how much something's going to cost is going to help settle the nerves a little bit. And maybe that red light anxiety that you sort of ignoring, will go away.
You're providing a lot of solutions for customers. Why is so much time and energy put into that?
Because that's the customer expectation. As a consumer, as a motorist, I've got a choice, right? I can take it to my dealer, I can take it to a major chain, or I can take it to my local mechanic. And I'm going to make that decision based on what's right for me. But being able to level the playing field and make sure that we're all going to market ready to service that customer and give the customer what they're looking for is really, really important. And we keep going back to this, but understanding and meeting them where they are is where the magic is.
And I think it's worth mentioning again, and we only mentioned it a couple of moments ago, but I think it's really important to hammer this home. The relationship between the mechanic and the customer is key, and for it to have longevity, it needs to be genuine.
Oh, 100%. You must make sure you're connecting at a human level, because at the end of the day, these are machines. Some of us love them and baby them and put them to bed at night, but other people see it as a utensil, as an appliance. And we need to make sure that we understand where the customer is at and meet them there.
So some mechanics say, here are my tools, I'm an expert, I'll fix your car, but that's all they do. Not good enough?
Look, there's absolutely a place for them in the market, right? I spoke a moment ago about how some customers view their motor vehicles as appliances. And if you just want to fix cars, there'll be a customer that just wants their car fixed. But there's a real risk of running out of customers if you're going to play that game. Being the cheapest in market, being the shopper docket bloke, it's an expensive lever to pull because there's diminishing returns every time you pull the cheap lever. Eventually, you're going to have to create value for your customers. And if you don't, you may not have any left.
And you made a good point earlier, and it's worth touching on again. It's all very well to pick your car up and feel good about your car, but if you pick your car up and feel good about your life as a result of that relationship, that's outstanding.
Yeah, look, a lot of customers are friends with their mechanics, and that's built through that trust, that trust and that understanding that this bloke's got my family's life in his hands or her hands. That's really powerful, and not taking that for granted, but making sure that you nurture that. That's where the rubber hits the road.
Again, you make a great point. Gee, things have changed in that area, haven't they, though?
Haven't they just?
So I'm a mechanic, and I just don't want to look after the cars for my customers. I want to look after them. Where do I start?
Well, look, I'm with Repco, right? So step one for me is get NavPro. Navigator Pro is free. It's live inventory, it's 24/7, it's always there when you need it to procure parts, and it saves you a ton of time. But also, reach out to your network. We have account managers on the road that are perfectly positioned to have these conversations with you and help give you some advice or some insight or talk about your market. Your local store manager as well is a wealth of knowledge and understanding. They know the customers because those same customers walk through the front door. So they have face-to-face. They know what value the customer needs. There's loads and loads of people that you can reach out to in your network. More than that though, look to the leaders in your market. Look at the big chains, look at the dealers and see what they're doing and see what great ideas you might be able to implement in your workshop.
It's a great point, because when I was asking you that question, part of me was presuming that mechanics would know what great customer service is, but some may not know even at that level.
No, but you know what? It's not that hard to get your feet wet and have a go. And it's through trial and error, right? And that's why I say it's important to reach out to your network, because your peers are going to be your biggest asset.
And interestingly, particularly in smaller markets, reputation, as we were saying earlier, and credibility is so important. You do a good job for someone. You fix their car and you help them with their life, and they'll tell someone, and that is invaluable.
Absolutely. And there's something we'll talk about later, but making sure when customers do give you feedback, you thank them for that, because feedback is a gift.
For the last 30 minutes, we've been talking about customer service. Why does Repco care about that?
Well, Repco's been around for over 100 years now. And throughout that journey, we've been forever in step with our customers. And it's really important to us that our customers thrive, because we are only as strong as our customers. We will win together, but we do need to be there together.
That's a powerful way to finish the episode. Thank you very much indeed, Kev. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mark.
For anyone watching, we hope that you've gotten lots of value from these episodes of Evolve TV. And if you have any comments or questions about what we've discussed here today, go ahead and visit the Evolve Hub community to continue the conversation. And we look forward to seeing you for the next episode of Evolve TV.